Kayla Mercer stepped off the orbital shuttle, her boots clicking softly on the polished floor of Kareth Academy. Around her, alien students bustled, their bodies a riot of colors, scales, feathers, and cybernetic augmentations. Reptilian arms flexed, tentacles twitched, and glowing psychic nodes pulsed under translucent skin. Amid all the chaos, Kayla's presence was unremarkable. A slight human girl with dark hair tied neatly back, uniform immaculate, expression unreadable. Silence, however, was a weapon she wielded better than most wielded plasma rifles. The Academy's central atrium stretched above her like a crystalline canyon. Transparent floors revealed training arenas, labs, and observation decks stacked like layers of a colossal cake. Holographic banners flickered with messages in multiple languages, each praising the superiority of some species or another. Humans, Kayla knew, were always a footnote, if they were mentioned at all. Another human, hissed a Vornik behind her. His scales gleamed jade in the ambient light, his jaws snapping as he eyed her like she was prey. "Think you belong here, girl?" Kayla didn't respond. She didn't need to. His irritation said enough. The first classroom was a kinetic lab, filled with floating hollow targets and magnetic simulators. The instructor, a six-limbed alien with optic sensors that rotated independently, barked commands. "Humans, keep up. Or get out." The other students snickered. Kayla's classmates, if one could call the aliens that, swirled around her in displays of brute strength and flashy abilities. She observed every twitch, every predictive movement, storing it silently in her mind. When the first simulation started, chaos erupted. Plasma whips crackled, grav pulses flew, and cybernetic arms collided with human-engineered drones. A Vornik-class student lunged too close to Kayla. Reflexively, she twisted, dodged, and sidestepped the swing with a precision that drew no attention yet saved her from a serious strike. A teacher's warning went unnoticed in the commotion. Kayla moved like water, silent but calculated. She didn't need to fight to make her point. Instinct and observation were enough. She had spent years honing these reflexes, not in the classrooms of a peaceful Earth, but in training zones that tested survival against machines and living predators alike. While the aliens relied on raw strength or psychic enhancements, Kayla relied on the unseen advantages: anticipation, timing, and adaptation. A mishap with a grav field projector sent a floating platform spinning into the air, hurtling toward a cluster of students. Panic erupted. Tentacles whipped, claws slashed, and psychic shields flickered. Kayla didn't run. She stepped forward, calculated her angle, and tapped the platform's magnetic field controls with a soft hum of precision. It stabilized midair, drifting gently away from the others. No one noticed who had saved them. Everyone assumed luck had intervened. Kayla smiled faintly. Luck was never a factor. Between classes, alien students whispered. "The Silent One, did you see that? She just moved like she was everywhere at once." Humans are fragile, though. Don't get your hopes up. Kayla overheard all of it, committing every reaction, every glance, every underestimation to memory. They didn't see the apex predator in plain sight, and that was exactly how she liked it. By the time the day ended, Kayla had been tested in physical drills, problem-solving simulations, and combat scenarios. She was consistently underestimated, never noticed until she struck, and always steps ahead in strategy. In the zero-G corridor leading to the dormitory, she observed a group of students attempting a mock ambush. Each moved predictably: overconfidence, overextension, lack of situational awareness. She simply sidestepped, redirected a grav beam to entangle the would-be attacker's own momentum, and allowed them to crash harmlessly into padded walls. Not a word, not a glance, just silent efficiency. Her dorm was small but functional, a human-scale module tucked between towering alien suites. She unpacked methodically, weapons and tools arranged precisely. There was a rhythm to her silence, a controlled heartbeat in a galaxy full of noise. Every human instinct, every learned reflex, Every ruthless decision had prepared her for the moment she would step out of obscurity. And in this academy, where arrogance was rampant and silence was scorned, she already had her advantage. As the orbital station rotated slowly against the backdrop of stars, Kayla stood by the viewport. Lights from distant planets flickered, casting her face in shadowed silver. No one suspected the storm she carried within, and that ignorance would be her greatest weapon. For the humans were never meant to dominate by raw power. They thrived by observation, adaptation, and ruthlessness when no one was watching. And Kayla Mercer, the silent girl in school, had already begun her hunt. The predators of Kareth Academy were yet unaware that their most formidable opponent didn't roar, didn't flaunt, and didn't announce herself. She waited, she watched, and she would strike when the time was perfect. And when she did, none would forget her. The Zero-G combat arena was a cathedral of controlled chaos. Suspended platforms floated like shattered pieces of a crystal prism, magnetic rails twisted in complex patterns, and streams of plasma traced arcs across the room. Alien students laughed, shouted, and flexed, showing off abilities honed over lifetimes. Humans were rare here. Kayla Mercer was rarer still. First exercise. Individual duels, the instructor announced, a six-limbed alien with iridescent skin that shifted color with emotion. Demonstrate technique, adaptability, and lethal efficiency. Humans, try to keep up. Vornik stepped forward, towering over Kayla by more than a foot, his jade scales glinting. His claws were sharp, his confidence sharper. "Hope you're ready to lose, girl," he snarled. The crowd snickered. Kayla's response was the same as always: silence. Eyes fixed, mind calculating, every movement pre-programmed in the split seconds before the duel began. The countdown ended. Vornik lunged with terrifying speed, plasma claws arcing through the zero-G air. Most students would have panicked. Kayla didn't. She twisted midair, letting his momentum carry him past, then tapped a nearby magnetic rail to redirect his trajectory. He slammed into a wall of force, sprawling and stunned. Gasps echoed. Whispers rippled through the spectators. Humans weren't supposed to move like this. Vornik roared, clawing at her again. Kayla dodged effortlessly, using subtle tugs on magnetic rails and the arena's inertia to redirect his attacks. Every strike he made, every feint, she turned to her advantage. Within moments, he was pinned to a platform by his own momentum, suspended helplessly as the instructor's sensors flashed. Unexpected human efficiency detected. How? Vornik sputtered, disbelief evident even through his scales. Kayla's eyes didn't change. She simply extended a hand, releasing the trap, letting him float away unharmed, but humiliated. The other students were watching now, some intrigued, others panicked. Zalera, a psychic tactician with violet-tinted skin and subtle telekinetic abilities, narrowed her eyes. "Interesting," she whispered, her voice laced with curiosity and caution. "A human with reflexes like a predator." The next exercise was a team-based scenario. Kayla's team consisted of 2 human novices, a reptilian brute, and a winged alien scout. Predictably, the other team underestimated them. They relied on brute force and flashy psychic maneuvers. Kayla remained calm, scanning, analyzing, predicting. When the alarm signaled enemy engagement, chaos erupted. Plasma blasts streaked through the arena, magnetic traps activated, and zero-G flips became a dance of death. Kayla coordinated her small team with precise movements. A hand gesture here, a tap there, subtle nudges of magnetic rails that her teammates barely noticed. Every alien attack was countered, redirected, or nullified. In the climax of the match, Zalera's psychic attack aimed to incapacitate Kayla instantly. The tendrils of telekinetic force lashed toward her, bending air and metal alike. Kayla didn't flinch. She timed a micro-movement, leapt off a floating platform, and let the psychic attack collide with a reinforced barrier, which bent but didn't break. Zalera's surprise was evident as Kayla landed silently, her team intact and the opposing force scattered. By the end, the arena fell silent. The instructor's sensors recorded an anomaly. Human reflex index, off charts. Adaptability, exceptional. Lethal potential, maximum. The alien students whispered and stared, realizing the quiet girl was anything but ordinary. In the locker corridor afterward, Kayla moved among the chatter. Some students tried to approach her, questions in their voices, envy in their tone. She ignored them, preferring to observe. Every expression, every twitch of a muscle, was logged silently in her mind. Knowledge was power, and she was gathering it effortlessly. Vornik, nursing bruises and pride, muttered, "This human, she's not normal. Watch your backs." Others nodded, some with curiosity, some with fear. Kayla's silence made her unreadable, her unpredictability terrifying. Humans, she thought, were always underestimated, and that gave her the edge she needed. That night, Kayla reviewed the day's recordings in her dorm. Every duel, every movement, every telekinetic attack was analyzed, dissected, and catalogued. Humans didn't have psychic powers. Humans didn't have natural armor or claws. What they did have was instinct, intuition, adaptability, and a ruthless edge honed over millennia of survival. Kayla Mercer embodied all of it. As the orbital station spun silently against the void of space, Kayla's reflection in the viewport showed a calm, silent figure. Around her, alien students slept or strategized, unaware of the storm building within the quiet human. Tomorrow would bring more challenges. Team exercises, predator games, tactical simulations. And Kayla would be ready. Always ready. In the silence, she whispered to herself, "Let them underestimate me. Let them think they are safe. Because when they realize the truth, there would be no escape." Kayla Mercer was not just another human student. She was a predator, silent, lethal, and entirely underestimated. And this was only the beginning. The arena was different this time. No instructors, no obvious objectives. Just the swirling chaos of a tactical predator simulation. The walls of the chamber were transparent, revealing the station's void beyond, stars scattered like frozen fire. Teams of students from every species were deployed, tasked with tracking, ambushing, and eliminating simulated prey, AI drones and each other. The prize: recognition, rank, and bragging rights. Kayla Mercer stood at the edge of the starting platform, silent as ever, observing. Around her, alien students flaunted abilities. Tentacles whirled, psychic auras shimmered, claws extended and retracted like living blades. Noise, power, arrogance, they all revealed themselves before the game even began. Humans thrived in the gap. "Your target," the holographic announcer droned, "is to secure the central objective and survive elimination." The signal blared. The arena erupted. Plasma blasts painted the zero-G walls with streaks of bright green and crimson. Telekinetic pulses twisted floating debris. Winged students darted through the air with impossible speed. Everyone screamed, shouted, and struggled, but Kayla's silence was lethal. She calculated trajectories, predicted patterns. A group of alien scouts attempted to flank her team. She tapped a grav rail, redirecting their path into a kinetic trap she had subtly aligned in seconds. Sparks flew. The attackers collided with each other, stunned. Kayla's team moved forward, barely noticed in the chaos. Then Zalera appeared. The violet-skinned psychic tactician floated with effortless grace, eyes glowing with precognition. "Human," she said, voice sharp, "you cannot counter this." Kayla's eyes didn't flicker. She didn't need to counter. She needed only to survive long enough to make the first move. Zalera unleashed psychic tendrils, lashing toward Kayla and her team. Alien students scattered. Most would have panicked. Kayla adapted. Timing her movements to the split-second oscillations of the psychic pulse, she let Zalera's attack misalign with the magnetic platforms. The tendrils struck a wall instead, shattering it into harmless fragments. Kayla's team moved as shadows, silent and coordinated. A second later, Kayla activated a subtle series of environmental manipulations, gravitational shifts, redirected kinetic platforms, even minor electromagnetic pulses from arena controls, all instinctive, unnoticed by the aliens. One by one, they were disoriented, trapped, or forced into collisions. Zalera's surprise was palpable. Her psychic aura flickered, recalibrating, misjudging Kayla's next move. "Impossible," she whispered. Kayla only smiled faintly. Humans were not predictable. Humans were survival incarnate. The objective orb floated ahead, glowing with pulsating light. Kayla's team approached. Another ambush awaited. A duo of reptilian brutes coordinated their attack with precision. But Kayla anticipated. With a subtle hand gesture and slight tap to a magnetic rail, she redirected one into the path of the other. They collided midair with a roar, neutralized. Kayla retrieved the orb, securing the win without a single casualty in her team. When the simulation ended, silence hung over the arena. Other students stared in disbelief. For once, no one was joking about human weakness. Even Zalera's violet eyes were wide with wary respect. Later, in the corridors, whispers spread like wildfire. The Silent One, she controlled the environment. Did you see her timing? Every move was perfect. She's a human. Kayla walked among them, expression unchanged. Observation was still her greatest weapon. Every whisper, every glance, every fear and admiration was catalogued. Her dormitory was small, compact, and human-scaled, a place where she could analyze, plan, and prepare. She reviewed every simulation, every movement, every ambush. Humans had no raw psychic power. Humans had no inherent brute strength like the reptilians, but they had strategy, adaptability, instinct, and ruthlessness honed over millennia. And humans were underestimated. That underestimation was Kayla's advantage. By night, the orbital station rotated silently beneath a field of distant stars. Kayla stared through her viewport, reflection mirrored against the void. The galaxy thought humans were weak, primitive, insignificant. She knew the truth. Tomorrow would bring more predator games, more simulations, more tests of strength and wit. And Kayla would strike again, silently, lethally, efficiently. For in a universe of brash predators, humans were the apex predator precisely because they waited, watched, and struck with precision. Kayla Mercer was no longer just a silent girl. She was a predator among predators, calculated, unseen, unstoppable. And the galaxy would soon learn that silence was deadlier than noise. The calm of the station was deceptive. Outside the observation decks, stars glittered in the void, a serene backdrop for the unseen storm. Kayla Mercer sensed it before anyone else: anomalous energy spikes, unusual movement patterns, and the subtle vibrations of predators moving where they shouldn't. The station's AI reported nothing, the instructors were oblivious. But Kayla's instincts, honed by human survival legacy, detected the threat immediately. The predator hunt had begun. These were not simulations or games. Unknown intruders, bioengineered, augmented hunters, had infiltrated Kareth Academy, slipping past shields and stealth protocols. Most alien students panicked, overconfident in their species' abilities. Vornik flexed his claws, Zalera prepared psychic shields, but neither had the situational awareness to understand the true danger. The hunt was silent, fast, and lethal. Kayla moved through the station corridors like a shadow. Her small frame was a perfect advantage in the narrow maintenance shafts, and her knowledge of the station's layout gave her an edge no alien predator possessed. Sensors blinked as she traced the intruder's path, noting patterns, weaknesses, and timing. She was alone, yet entirely in control. The first encounter was brutal and swift. Two of the hunters cornered a group of alien cadets in the cargo bay. Screams echoed. Kayla dropped from a maintenance shaft, silent as a ghost. Before they could react, she disabled the hunters' grav drives with a precision pulse, sending them tumbling into the walls. She didn't wait for thanks. She moved on, cataloging every tactic, every weapon, every predictable weakness. Next, she laid traps in corridors and junctions. Kinetic nets, gravitational misalignments, and micropulses designed to disorient. Alien students stumbled and paused, trying to understand how a human could anticipate the hunters so effectively. Kayla didn't wait for comprehension. Her human advantage was speed, adaptability, and ruthless calculation. She found a hunter stalking the dormitories. With careful timing, Kayla used the ventilation shafts to position herself directly above the predator. When it paused, scanning for prey, she dropped silently, landing on its back. Her hands moved with surgical precision, severing critical systems and neutralizing it before it could call for backup. Not a sound. Not a struggle. Only efficiency. By the time the Academy's alarm systems fully activated, Kayla had already mapped the intruder's entire operation. The AI systems finally registered anomalies, but only because she had manipulated the readings, guiding the predators into controlled zones where her traps would finish the work. In the central atrium, chaos finally erupted. Alien students fought, panicked, and screamed, but Kayla was everywhere at once. She moved between platforms, through zero-G corridors, and over observation decks, dismantling intruders with uncanny precision. The hunters were formidable, but none matched human instinct. Kayla had trained for this: stealth, speed, adaptability, ruthlessness. She was the apex predator in an arena full of predators. Vornik confronted her briefly. "You're insane. How do you do this?" Kayla didn't respond. She only nodded toward a disarmed hunter. "Observe," she whispered softly. By the end of the night, the station was cleared. Alien instructors arrived, their jaws dropped, eyes wide with disbelief. Surveillance data showed what had happened, but it couldn't capture the silent efficiency, the anticipation, the human instinct that had turned a lethal ambush into a controlled neutralization. The students who survived stared at Kayla differently now. Respect mingled with fear. Rumors spread instantly. The human girl wasn't just skilled, she was a predator. A tactical genius. A silent storm waiting to strike. Later, Kayla returned to her dormitory, exhausted but composed. She reviewed the night's recordings, noting every intruder pattern, every alien response, every environmental factor. She cataloged weaknesses, strengths, and anomalies, storing them in memory banks no AI could replicate. Through the viewport, she watched the orbital station rotate against the backdrop of infinite stars. Humans were underestimated, yes. But Kayla Mercer had just proven why underestimation was a fatal mistake. The predators had come to test the Academy, and humans had survived. And in the quiet, reflective human figure, a silent message was clear. We are apex predators. Always. Silent, lethal, unstoppable. Kayla knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy underestimated humans at its peril, and she would ensure they never forgot it. By dawn, Kareth Academy was a mess of scorched platforms, shattered magnetic rails, and twisted debris. Alien students moved cautiously through the corridors, their eyes wide, bodies tense. Whispers followed Kayla Mercer wherever she went. Even instructors, who prided themselves on composure, were unsettled by the efficiency and precision she had displayed. The central atrium became the stage for the final recognition. Academy officials and instructors gathered around, reviewing the data logs. The station AI reported every anomaly, every neutralized threat, every strategic maneuver. But even its cold, precise numbers could not fully capture what Kayla had done. A human student, silent, small, underestimated, had saved dozens of lives while dismantling some of the most dangerous predators the station had ever recorded. Vornik approached, scuffed and subdued. I don't understand," he admitted, his usual arrogance stripped away. "You moved like you were everywhere at once." Kayla looked at him, expression calm, unchanging. No words. Silence, as always, was her answer. Her eyes, however, told the story of a mind calculating, analyzing, always 3 steps ahead. Zalera stepped forward, psychic aura flickering in restrained respect. "Humans are not weak," she murmured. You are not like the others. Kayla only inclined her head slightly. No boast, no speech. Her actions had spoken far louder than words ever could. The Academy's headmaster, a towering alien with metallic wings and opalescent skin, finally addressed the assembly. Let it be known, he said, voice reverberating through the hall, that the human student Kayla Mercer has proven the full potential of her species. Let all students learn from this example. Underestimation is the greatest mistake one can make. Some of the alien students still looked skeptical, but most stared with a mix of awe and fear. Rumors of Kayla's ruthlessness spread instantly through comm channels, echoing across the station. A human, small and quiet, had demonstrated instinct, adaptability, and lethal precision that rivaled and often surpassed any enhanced alien species. Kayla returned to her dormitory afterward. She unpacked nothing, leaving her weapons, tools, and equipment in perfect order. Every action had been purposeful, every victory calculated. The galaxy may have underestimated humans, but Kayla knew the truth. Humans were apex predators, silent hunters in a noisy universe. Through the viewport, she gazed at the swirling stars. The orbital station rotated slowly, reflecting light across her calm, composed features. A faint smile touched her lips, not of pride, but of quiet satisfaction. She had survived, she had dominated, and she had proven humans were not to be dismissed. Yet she remained silent. Words were unnecessary. Actions had more power than any speech. Kayla Mercer had become a legend in the making, not for her size, not for her strength, not even for her cunning alone, but for the one trait that made humans truly dangerous: the ability to thrive where others failed, to observe when others panicked, and to strike ruthlessly when the moment was right. The Academy would never forget the silent girl who was the most ruthless predator alive. And in the quiet of her dorm, Kayla already considered the next challenge, the next hunt, the next test. For her, the galaxy was a stage, and humans had only just begun to step into the spotlight. She whispered to herself, almost inaudibly, "Let them watch. Let them learn. Let them fear." The galaxy had seen the first proof, and it would see many more. Kayla Mercer, silent, observant, ruthless, was only beginning,